Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Hey, how's it going, me in the future? And anyone who managed to stumble across this. If you did, welcome. But probably not. I'm not going to be doing any advertising for this or anything like that. Welcome to the first in a series of what I hope to be weekly uploads to my personal YouTube channel. One that I've had for over 10 years now, and I've made a couple of private listing videos for when I'm, need to reference something for friends for a game show or whatever, but never anything public. I grew up in the early to mid 2000s, so the idea was, oh, I wanted to be a YouTuber and I wanted to be famous, and that sounds like a great job. But then I grew up and decided, well, I saw what it turned into and went, I don't really feel like that, and decided it was too much stress and too uncertain for what I was looking for. But recently, over this last holiday break in 2025, in the whole year of 2025, I'd make jokes to my friends as we were playing games. We'd do something funny, and I'd go, "Oh, that's going in the Christmas video." And so at one point, I started just clipping, the last minute that's been on my PC. I had OBS open, and I'd clip those and title them something and put them away in a folder. And I said, maybe I'll do some with this later. And at the end of the year, I went, this would be a great Christmas present. Let me just take my three groups of friends. I had like 60 clips for each of them and cut them down and make, an early 2010 style compilation video. So that's what I did. I spent 2 full days to make two of the videos. I've got one of them coming up that I'm working on right now. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I realized it was really cool to have those moments that you share with friends or that you just forget about. But they're really funny and it's fun to look back at. So I decided that why do that only for my friends when I could kind of do that for myself? And looking at like the early 2010 Call of Duty commentary videos, and more recently Jay Schlatt's weekly Slap series, just seemed like a cool thing to do for myself. Where I decided this year, once a week, I'm going to play a game, 10 to 15 minutes, maybe two games if they're a bit shorter, and I'm gonna put some commentary over it, talk about what I've been up to, what I've got plans, make a time capsule for myself. The goal isn't to get a following or make any money, or I don't need the world watching me. I don't need anybody watching me. Truly, it sounds like a lot of stress, but I'd like to be able to look back at this in a few years or a decade or something. Who knows, and see what life was like. So, yep, the plan is each weekend I'm gonna put one video up for the whole year and see what it looks like at the end. And what better to start with than not New Year's resolutions, but sort of goals for this year. I have never followed New Year's resolutions very well, and I don't think many people do. It's way too much pressure to try to change everything about you in a full year, or it seems. And if you fail once, you want to quit or whatnot. People have those different problems, and so I think it's a bit cliche. I think if you want to change something, you should just make that resolution and start it immediately. But I do like the idea of having themes for my year. So I came up with four themes for what I want this year to be, and a lot of them are extensions of last year's. But to start it off, it's the year of new. This is something I started last year whenever I would go home for a break, my friends would ask me, "Hey, what have you been watching? What have you been playing?" And I'd always have to tell them, "I don't know. Like I've been kind of playing the same things, League of Legends or Call of Duty or whatever my friends were asking me to play. I do a single player game here or there. And what was I watching? Well, I was watching those old, early 2010s YouTube videos, rewatching things, even newer content. I'd watch it, and then 3 days I'd watch a video, and 3 days later I'd watch it again. And as nice as the nostalgia and the predictability can be, I think it's a good thing to experience new media, new habits, new all of that. So I started a list where every time I experienced something new, it started with a couple of animes I was recommending. I was going to write it down, and the whole year I was going to write down everything new I did, so I could look back and see what I had. And well, I didn't do that. I kept it up for maybe about a month and then stopped. And so I don't need to catalog it this year, but I'd like this to be a year of new things. Anytime I would go to reread a book or rewatch a show, maybe I can pop in something new. The goal is to read 18 books this year, one and a half per month. So if I can get that and have, 15 of them be new, because I know three of them already I'm going to be rereading. It's been a while since I've read them. But if I can get a bunch of new books, that'd be cool. watch a bunch of new shows, new movies, have things to talk about, and be keeping up. And they don't even have to be new, as in 2020 and onward or something. They could be old stuff that I just haven't seen yet. I just want it to be different for this year. And speaking of different and new things, this is going to be my year of arts. Last year, I picked up 2 new hobbies, and continuing my one that I've had for a couple years. So I've been doing guitar very on and off, mostly on the off portion, for 5 or 6 years. And I'm okay with it. I can play some songs, but I'm definitely not advanced in any way. So I'd like to continue to pick that up, become more proficient in it. Last year I bought a piano or like a keyboard. I started playing a bit of piano. My goal for the end of the year is, play by chords. I want to be able to, I can't read sheet music, but I want to be able to pull up the chords to a song and be able to know the notes and work on the inversions, and maybe within a couple hours have like a piano strumming pattern, a rhythm down that sounds like it works for the song, be able to play the notes enough so that it kind of sounds like what the artist originally intended and you can sing along to it or whatnot. And then speaking of singing, I took on singing. I took some singing lessons, and I've had a blast training my voice a little bit. Again, I'm no professional by any means, but from what my teacher said, I am better than the average person. Now, I did pay him weekly, monthly, but I paid him for weekly lessons, so he's encouraged to say good things about me. But I do think I've improved, and I want to have a musical outlook on this year and try new things in that respect. The other themes are year of feeling. I realized recently that I don't say things like "I love you" and I really enjoy hanging out with you to my friends enough. It's just been something that I kind of shied away from, and I held back those feelings for no real good reason. But I realized that I enjoy when people say that about me. It elates me when someone says, "Hey, we had a great hangout. I love seeing the messages every time you say you want to hang out. We can get something to work." So I realized that other people probably feel that way too, and I want to be able to give that back to them. So anytime I have some of those positive feelings, I want to share it with people so that everybody knows how I feel. And you only get so many moments with friends and family in life. Why not make the best of them that you can? And I think that'll help a lot with my outlook on this. And finally, it's going to be the year of change. I went through a little bit of a change last year. I took on a 3-month kind of crash course diet where I dropped 20 pounds in 12 weeks. And well, let's just say I've gained back 15 of those pounds since then. So I'm starting off with another diet, more or less the same diet. I want to lose another 20 pounds from where I'm at so I can end about 5 pounds lighter than I was before. I want to rebuild my exercise routine. I got really busy, so I kind of said, it's okay not to exercise. I'm doing things with friends, but I need to hammer that in and make sure that I'm making time for that. And that goes on with the healthy habits, getting better sleep, all those things that people always talk about, and super, super cliche. Everyone has this resolution, but I want to really stick with it. They say if you really put your mind to it, you can change your life in 6 months. Well, let's see what a full year of committing to these sorts of things does. And again, that's what these videos are for, so that at the end of the year, I can kind of hold myself accountable. And every week, I get to look back at what did I do this last week? What do I have planned for next week? And how's that going to work? And since I've got a minute or so left, let's talk about what I'm doing this next week. Well, starting tomorrow, I'm running a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I haven't ran one since about 3 years ago, and I ran it fully online, and I wasn't very prepared for it. I kind of phoned it in, unfortunately. The players still liked it, but it wasn't a really formative experience on my end. And so I've taken the time to really do that for this in-person group, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be. This Wednesday, we've got a new person that's going to be coming to my local board game group, so that's going to be pretty cool. Get to play some games with a new face, and hopefully they stick around so we have a bigger group, or at least more people to sub in and out from then on. And some apartment renovations. It's time for my bi-weekly big cleaning, as I leave it to get messy all the time, but I got some posters and flags and different things I want to put up to make the place look homey. Well, I'm just about all the time for this one, so I'd like to thank you, anyone who's watching, but most importantly, my future self. Hopefully in a year, I can say that I did follow these properly, and I can't wait to see what comes in the next following weeks. Alright, bye-bye for now.